I was blindsided when my ex-girlfriend Mikala went back to escorting after we broke up. I can't keep supporting you, I told her, realizing I'd funded her lavish lifestyle to the tune of 110K. Now she's breaking up with me to chase clients in Japan while I'm left to pick up the pieces. How do I move on from this toxic cycle? I discovered that my 31M former girlfriend 30F has been engaging in sexual activities with other individuals for money while we were in a relationship. I no longer wish to be connected to her in any form, nor do I want to provide her with financial support. The problem is she resides in an apartment that is under my name. What is the best way for us to proceed from here? When we initially started our relationship, it was an escort-client dynamic. This was my 31M first experience with something like that. Mikala 30F and I quickly developed a strong connection and arranged several dates over the following months. On each date, we had extensive conversations and discovered various interests that brought us together. Eventually, we began seeing each other without any financial transactions, at least not directly. Occasionally, she would request financial assistance for rent, bills, or a trip back home, and I would gladly comply. Sometimes I would send her money simply because I had extra, and it felt rewarding to know I was helping someone I cared for. After several months of dating and spending time together, we began a committed relationship, or so I thought. When I asked Mikala if she was seeing anyone else, she assured me that she was not, proclaiming that she was entirely mine. At the time, I believed her wholeheartedly. The day we expressed our love for one another was one of the happiest moments of my life. It felt perfect, and that feeling remains. However, difficulties soon arose. During one of her trips home, Mikala accused me of not genuinely loving her, claiming that she felt I was insincere. This bewildered me because we talked almost constantly, except when I was at work. We saw each other frequently, and I provided her with financial assistance when she asked and when I could. We went on many dates, and if she needed transportation, I was there for her. We exchanged affectionate words regularly, and our physical connection, as we both described, was stronger than with anyone else we had ever encountered. Thus, when Mikala expressed doubts about my love for her, I was completely taken aback. I tried to reassure her, but halfway through her 3-week trip home, she broke up with me and blocked me. At that moment, I felt both angry and devastated, but ultimately accepted the situation. There was nothing I could do. We did not communicate for a couple of months, but I continued to think about her. During that time, I suspected she had returned to sex work and soon discovered she was active on an escort website shortly after our breakup. This was surprising, as I knew she also modeled and had significant aspirations to start her own business. A few months later, Mikala contacted me unexpectedly. I was overjoyed. We met again, but things did not go as smoothly because I was still nursing the wounds of rejection. I became anxious and struggled to maintain effective communication. We reconnected close to her birthday. I told her I wanted to take her out, so I booked a suite at a luxurious hotel and made reservations at a fine restaurant. We were enjoying ourselves when Mikala informed me that she would be traveling to Switzerland for her birthday with a female friend, someone I had never heard of before. Since she had many friends, I did not question it. While she was away, we continued talking, but I noticed that each night in Switzerland, she would stop texting me significantly earlier than usual. I did not expect her to communicate with me continuously during her birthday celebrations, but it was always well before the typical bedtime. After her trip, we resumed our relationship, hanging out and dating as before. Everything felt great, and we officially got back together, but more issues soon emerged. Mikala was very active on Twitter. Although I do not have a Twitter account, I would check hers to see what she was up to. I observed that whenever she spent time with her friends, most of whom are women, she posted pictures of them together. Then it hit me. She felt close enough to one friend to embark on an international vacation, yet there was not a single photograph of this female friend-only pictures of Mikala. This struck me as unusual, given that none of her friends were camera shy. The next time we met, I asked to see pictures from her trip to Switzerland. She replied that she would show them to me later, but I insisted. I said I would be busy later and really wanted to see them then. I confronted her more directly, telling her it was odd that this friend had not appeared in any pictures or been tagged at all. Mikala fell silent and stared at me. So I removed the bandage and told her that I suspected she went to Switzerland with a client. She confirmed this to be the case. I suppose I should have anticipated this, but I was still devastated because she had initially gone out of her way to inform me about the trip and claimed she was traveling with a female friend. I did not even ask about it at first, so why lie? She explained that this client had offered to take her on the trip, and even though we had rekindled our relationship, she could not pass up the opportunity. She assured me she was no longer communicating with this person and had no intention of doing so in the future. She claimed she did not even like him, she just wanted to go on the trip. I was skeptical but chose to trust her, at least somewhat. All this led to our relationship becoming increasingly on again, off again. During one of our hiatuses, I began seeing someone else. I decided I did not want to pursue a long-term relationship with this woman and started dating Mikala before I completely ended things with the other individual. Because I had not entirely cut ties with the other woman, I was cheating. Mikala discovered my involvement with the other woman due to text messages on my phone. This, in my view, marked the beginning of the end. She was utterly heartbroken and I felt like complete trash. For several weeks, I pleaded with her to give me another chance, doing everything she requested to regain her trust. From that point on, every action I took that seemed suspicious to her was considered evidence of cheating, lying, or dishonesty. Even texting or talking to any of my female friends or coworkers was perceived as infidelity. Yes, I was seeing the other woman and did not disclose this to her, but that was the only instance. Despite everything, we continued to attempt to date. For the most part, things felt wonderful again. We claimed to be madly in love with each other. We expressed love for one another and discussed the type of future we envisioned together. However, those conversations were often interrupted by her suspicion that I was lying about something, cheating, or not genuinely in love with her. This cycle persisted for 3 months. During this time, several incidents arose. We engaged in very heated arguments. With each argument, there would inevitably be a revelation of a past lie she had told, evidence of her involvement in sex work when she previously denied it, and hurtful words exchanged between us. These disputes typically followed the same pattern repeatedly. 1. Her accusing me of lying or cheating. 2. Me reassuring her, doing everything I could to demonstrate that I was not offering to show Uber activity, allowing her to look through my phone, sharing my location and location history, permitting her to review my work messages, going through my emails and phone calls, answering any questions she had. 3. Me accusing her of exploiting me for money. 4. Me assuring her that I was trying to make amends for my previous infidelity. 5. Her verbally abusing me. 6. Me promising all the ways I would improve as her boyfriend. 7. We would eventually resolve the argument and express how much we missed and loved each other. This relationship can be described as classic toxic. That said, it feels as though we are both strongly committed to making this work. I think I am beginning to feel worn out, but I remain committed nonetheless. Now the true financial troubles begin. Early on, Mikala communicated that I needed to be able to support her financially. I have a decent job, so I felt confident I could manage this. Mikala informed me of significant life changes she planned to undertake, which would increase my financial obligations. Looking back now, I realize I was being completely naive. It felt good to believe I could support the person I loved in any way possible. I liked the idea that Mikala could rely on me for financial support, particularly if it meant she would not need to engage in sex work anymore. Therefore, I willingly embraced this responsibility. However, these new changes necessitated that I seek higher earnings. I loved my job and did not want to leave it, so I was thrilled when a new opportunity opened up at the same company. The problem was, this position was in a neighboring state. The states are quite large, however, so I knew our opportunities to see each other would diminish, but I had to move to obtain higher pay. We both decided to relocate simultaneously. I moved to a state over, and she moved just 10 minutes away from her previous residence. I financed her move and provided her with about 5 months' worth of rent. The following story is quite a tale. After a month apart, I returned to visit her. We arranged a lovely night out in the city, staying in a luxurious hotel and dining at a fine restaurant. She suggested inviting one of her female friends to have a threesome with us. I immediately rejected the idea, believing it was terrible. She persisted in her proposal, so I eventually relented and agreed. The outcome was disastrous. I felt as though she focused more on her friend than on me throughout the experience. We ended up having a massive argument. I gathered my things and stormed out of the hotel room while she mocked me, claiming I was just upset because I wasn't having sex with her friend and that she was pleased I was leaving. I reached the elevator, realized how absurd the situation was, and did not want to end things that way. I turned around and knocked on the door. When Mikala opened it, we began arguing again. I walked away, except now she was locked out of the hotel room and unable to get back in. I was frustrated and largely ignored her, but we both headed toward the elevator. Once inside, we stared at each other in silence, and then she slapped me as hard as she could. In utter disbelief, I pushed her off and we parted ways. I was shaken. We had had major fights before, but it had never escalated to physical violence. The next day, while flying home, I received a text from her apologizing and expressing how terrible she felt about what transpired. I responded with my own apology for how I managed the argument, and things seemed to improve miraculously despite that night. However, just 5 minutes later, she mentioned that her subletter wanted her out of the apartment as soon as possible. Then, she asked me for help finding another apartment. I ended up leasing an apartment in her city under my name where she now resides. During this time, Mikala insisted she would obtain a steady job to support her financial commitments, and I said I would assist with the rent. Well, she ultimately decided she did not want to get a job. I began to panic because my financial obligations escalated dramatically and there was no relief in sight. Everything had been much more manageable before both of us moved. While my salary increased, it was not substantially more. Fast forward to now and her birthday has arrived. She wishes to go to Japan this time and it has been confirmed that she is traveling with a genuine female friend. I even accompanied them to the airport as I was visiting for her birthday. A couple of weeks earlier, I asked Mikala how much money she needed for her trip to Japan. After she informed me of the amount, I promptly transferred the funds. In the past, she had expressed frustration about my delays in sending money, so to be the boyfriend she desired, I ensured the payment was immediate. In reality, she had only had to wait approximately 2 times. For my own records, I calculated the total amount of money I had sent her since we met, which amounted to about 70,000, not including rent for the new apartment, bringing the total to approximately 110,000 by the end of the lease. My birthday follows hers closely, and I had planned to bring her to my home so we could celebrate together. I recognized how important this was to her and believed it would happen without hesitation. Unfortunately, I am now out of money and cannot afford to make it happen. I have come to realize that she does not budget the money I give her at all. She simply spends it and has repeatedly accused me of withholding funds from her or insinuated that I possess hidden financial resources. I sincerely wish I did. She requested additional funds right before leaving for the trip, and I was aware that I would be financially strained for a couple of months while waiting to be paid again. I had enough funds left only to cover her rent, and my own food expenses. When I informed her of this, she was far from pleased. While she was on the trip, she became increasingly distant and barely communicated with me. She inquired about visiting me for my birthday, and I explained that I did not have sufficient funds since I still needed to cover her rent. Then she dropped a bombshell on me. She intended to engage in sex work while in Japan and was breaking up with me. Naturally, I was infuriated, as I had been working diligently to support her as best as I could, only to find out she was going to be with someone else. I tried discussing the situation with her, exploring ways to avoid her returning to sex work, but she insisted she was resolute in her decision, and we were finished. At this point, I began to realize that I was likely being used solely for my financial resources, and any talk of love, happiness, or a future together had merely been a convenient ruse to extract what she wanted from me without any effort on her part. I know I have not been perfect in this situation, but I never thought I deserved such treatment. She eventually claimed she had changed her mind about engaging in sex work during her trip. While we talked, she still wished to remain broken up. During an argument, she confessed that she had performed sex work at times when she claimed she was not involved. This revelation made me furious, and in vague terms, I told her I would no longer provide her with financial support. It became clear to me that the only thing she genuinely cared about was my wallet. I do not want to be taken advantage of any longer. I refuse to spend another dollar on her, but I feel terrible about the predicament that would create for her. I do not wish to appear cruel, but I am simply drained, fed up, and tired of feeling exploited. So what is the best way to close this chapter? Story 2. After a perfect weekend, my girlfriend, 18, suddenly called to say she needs a break from our 2.5-year relationship. I don't know if I can keep doing this, she sobbed, leaving me confused. How can she love me yet want to pull away? Now I'm lost. What's next? Hello everyone, I realize this may come off as a bit of a ramble, but I will include all the details. The first paragraph provides context about my relationship. Feel free to skip it if you do not wish to read it all. My girlfriend and I met in high school. We first encountered each other when I was a junior and she was a freshman. We did not start dating until I became a senior and she was a sophomore. Everything seemed perfect, I think. After high school, I decided to join the National Guard. I sat her down and offered her a chance to walk away without any hard feelings as I was going to be away for at least 6 months. She cried on my shoulder and insisted she would never leave me. During basic training, I did not have a phone, so we exchanged letters and she attended my graduation. Once I reached advanced training for my job, I received my phone and we communicated almost every day, successfully getting through the experience. I returned in the middle of that following summer and everything felt wonderful. We were deeply in love and spent nearly every day together. The trouble began when I started college. She is a senior in high school and I am a freshman. My college is approximately 3 hours from my hometown, so before I attended, I promised I would do my best to come home every weekend. Unfortunately, it did not turn out as I had hoped. I have National Guard drills one weekend each month, and I quickly realized that it was impractical for me to travel frequently, particularly as I am quite broke. We have gradually been talking on the phone less and less, and I will admit this is likely due to my shortcomings. With my schedule so packed with work and school, I often forget that we have not spoken at all that day. We had a significant argument about this, and I promised to put her first. Things were great for a while after that. This was roughly 2 months ago. I would also like to add that every time I am back home, we are the perfect couple, apart from these two recent arguments. The first incident occurred when I returned home for the weekend. We made plans to hang out and go shopping on Saturday but did not specify a time. I went to a bar on Friday night and definitely drank more than I should have and ended up spending the night at my buddy's house. I woke up at 10 a.m. to an upset girlfriend who was at my house, wondering where I was. It turned out she thought we were starting that morning, while I believed we would decide on a time later. We set a time for 1 p.m., but she never showed up, claiming she had fallen asleep. I am fully aware that her actions were probably a reaction to my previous behavior. In the second instance, she plans to come to my college next fall and visited for Accepted Students Day. She indicated that she and her parents would come for the day and leave that night. The day before their visit, my buddy scored tickets to the opener of our Major League Baseball team, which is located across the state, so we made plans to go after my work shift. We had an amazing day, but just before I left for work from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., she told me she had convinced her parents to book a hotel so we could spend more time together. As you can imagine, this led to another argument when I informed her of my prior commitments. Later that night, she told me her parents thought I had been extremely disrespectful for not being with her, and she felt the same way. I can understand why they thought that, but I also feel that I cannot take all the blame when she tried to spring her plans on me at the last minute. This took place about a month ago. As for the current situation, I returned home from college for Easter. She came over on Friday when I arrived, and we enjoyed each other's company. Everything seemed amazing. On Saturday, I accompanied her to her family's Easter gathering until she had to go to work. During the event, her uncle asked me about my summer plans. Without thinking, I let it slip that I was contemplating staying at college and taking classes over the summer. I suddenly realized I had not discussed this with my girlfriend yet because I wanted to make a decision before having that conversation with her. She appeared distressed, so we stepped outside to talk. I assured her that nothing was set in stone and that I was simply considering the option. I apologized for not informing her earlier. She said it was okay, and we returned inside and had a good time. Later that night, I had a few beers with my family while watching basketball and hockey, which is important to note. She came over after work, and I thought we had a great time, even ending the night quite intimately. I walked her out and gave her a kiss. The next morning, which was Easter Sunday, everything seemed fine during breakfast. As I was leaving for my family's gathering that she could not attend, we kissed and talked about when I would be visiting for her prom in 2 weeks, and I had already ordered a suit. Then unexpectedly the following day, she called me at 9 p.m. and said we needed to talk. She explained that she had been thinking and believed we should take a break. She expressed uncertainty about being able to handle the long-distance relationship at this moment and thought a break for a week or two would be best. She reiterated that she still loved me with all her heart and wanted to spend the rest of our lives together, but she needed some time. I asked why she did not mention this just the day before when she seemed fine, and she responded that she was planning to bring it up on Saturday, but I was rather intoxicated when I arrived. When I inquired why she did not say anything on Sunday, she explained that she did not want to upset her family gathering. This all hit me completely out of the blue, so I became quite emotional. I questioned how she could claim to love me with all her heart and want to spend our lives together yet ask for a break. She clarified that she did not want to break up but rather take a break. At this point, she was in tears and I was also becoming emotional. She kept reiterating how much she loved me between sobs, and I asked her to please stop because it made my heart hurt worse. I concluded by stating that breaks typically lead to breakups. If that was her true intention, we should just end things. I hung up the phone afterward. Immediately, I regretted saying that and ended up drinking heavily to try to clear my head, which of course only made things worse. I was utterly confused as to how we could go from being absolutely perfect together to feeling like we were on the brink within a day. I called my sergeant in the National Guard, as he had told me I could reach out if I ever needed to talk, particularly since I had been dealing with some mental health issues a couple of months ago. We spoke for over an hour, and he advised me that if I genuinely loved her and wanted to spend the rest of my life with her, I needed to draw her closer, make her my #1 priority, and do my best to avoid letting this break occur. The following morning, I sent her a text saying, "Hey, I became quite emotional during the call. Can we talk in a week or two to discuss things? I am not ready to lose you if there is a possibility we can work through this." She responded affirmatively, saying, "I am so sorry. I do not want to lose you either, and I want to do everything I can to make this work. I apologize for constantly saying I love you on the phone as I know it upset you, but I want you to know it is true. You mean so much to me, and I do not want to lose you." And that is where I currently stand in my relationship of over 2.5 years. Now it is 7 days later, and I am sitting in my dorm room drinking and watching The Sopranos. I was supposed to attend her prom next weekend, but canceled my tuxedo order to recoup some money. My question for you all is, where do I go from here? I love her dearly and want to explore whether there is a way to make this work. Should I call her soon and try to resolve things, or should I let her go? I apologize for the lengthy paragraphs. I simply began typing, and it kept getting longer. Additionally, I did not observe any unusual behavior while we were together that weekend. She acted completely normal.